My questions are a little bit different because the first time I heard you, years ago on a CD, something came to my mind that I'd read in the Bible when they talked about Jesus, and they said he talked as one with authority, and not as the scribes and the Pharisees. And the first time I heard you, I felt the same way.
You know what that is? It's absence of resistance. It's also harmony with your own inner knowing.
Were someone like Abraham or like that running through Jesus?
Oh, it's the same energy.
Same thing, same
Same
relationship?
energy. Yeah.
All my questions are about our relationship between physical and non-physical. It's kind of off the thread here, but
It's all we've been talking about.
that's all we've been talking about. I heard on one of your CDs that you have a friend who sees energies.
Yeah.
And you slipped one time coming up the stairs, and she saw Jerry catch you.
When Esther stepped onto the step, that platform that was in front of the stairs, it had shorter front legs that weren't touching the floor, which is fine because usually those steps are tucked up tight against the stage so that when you step on them, it pushes them into the stage. But this time they were left out away from the stage so that when Esther stepped on it, the step tipped down and her leg went between the stage and the steps. So she began going down, yes.
And you said that you didn't fall, and you didn't know why.
Esther felt like she was flying.
Right. And then her friend saw Jerry catch you.
Wrapped his arms around her and steadied her.
I've had a similar relationship with a stepson that we were shooting BB guns, and he shot and he hit the backboard and the BB ricocheted back. What I saw was the BB just lose momentum and just fall in the grass, right? He jumped up and went, "Whoa, did you see that?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Somebody put their hand down there and stopped it." And so there's no reason to not believe that that happened. My question is, what is the actual dynamic? Obviously non-physical can transcend and have physical relationships with us, like it can transcend through the veil or whatever. What is the dynamics for that? Because it opens up a can of worms, so, angels and demons and things going bump in the night. It's like, could you tell me what's the relationship there? What's the dynamics?
Well, sometimes when we hear you being amazed at some sort of non-physical intervention, we say to Esther, that's just child's play, because look at the big picture of your Earth spinning in its orbit. There are so many things that are happening because of the intentionality. And we want the intentionality of non-physical focus. And then along with that word intentionality of non-physical focus, we want to use the word momentum. So if you have a very strong momentum of allowing into your experience well-being, you see, we can't make you allow well-being into your experience because you get to create your own reality. And you have intentions that sometimes you block. In other words, we'd like to turn this analogy around on you just a little bit and help you to realize that there are a whole lot of things that you're asking for that are flowing to you that you don't let in. And you might have a little fun with this analogy that the angels are saying, did you see that? That abundance was going right for that person, and right before it got in, they stopped it and it just went on the ground. And so what are we talking about here? We're talking about energy in motion from the momentum and then the readiness to receive it. We're talking about the asking and the allowing. Let's say, as in the example of the BB gun and in the example of Esther, her well-being and your son's well-being are so established, that momentum is so strong that even though there can be a lapse of attention, in other words, somebody wasn't watching what they were doing when they put that stage there. It was sort of like a booby trap that was set. Or was it? Was it an opportunity for Esther to discover her well-being exists no matter what? You see? And so things are always working out for you. This is a conversation about to what degree am I expectant of things working out for me, which is the same thing as saying, to what degree have I allowed the momentum of well-being to dominate in my experience, which is the same thing as to say, how many times have I said yes, 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 as compared to yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. the younger they are, the more well-being they are allowing. Through life, the older you get, better said, the more experience you have, the more probable you're going to put into your experience obstacles that make you expect well-being less and less and less, as you witness more and more people who are not letting it in. Did we answer your question in that roundabout way? So in the same way that a human, a disconnected human, could disallow well-being that's flowing, non-physical angels that have so much well-being flowing could enhance that. In other words, it's whatever focus is strongest. Let us start again. Non-physical energy cannot intend your well-being enough to keep you out of trouble. But when you begin catching a glimpse of the well-being that is flowing, or as in your early days you are feeling it in a stronger way, then things that look like they shouldn't have happened can happen. This brings us to a perfect opportunity to discuss that thing that we keep wanting to come around to, that we touch on and then touch on it and then we touch on it, and that is the practical application of life, manifestation, words, action, behavior, rules, laws, human behavior, as compared to connection and alignment and fulfillment and source energy. In every moment, you could be under the influence of source or under the influence of what's going on in your human world more. And so when you accept that there is this non-physical realm and that it is only well-being and that it is raining down around you at all times, and because you are beginning to accept it and now are beginning to watch for it, and even better, are deliberately aligning yourself with it and then noticing the relationship between what you've been doing deliberately with your alignment and then what flows to you in terms of impulse and then what happens next. The more you do that, the more you then accept the intervention of non-physical well-being. Until then, that intervention doesn't happen to you, and so when you hear about it, you discount it as untrue. But when you're living it and experiencing it and then knowing it, and you can feel the authenticity of it. Go back to your first question about Jesus. What was the word?
It was like, was someone or something like Abraham running through Jesus while he was doing his thing.
But what was the word you used? Authority? Or
he spoke with authority. Like I could learn everything that you teach, and I could go out and teach it somewhere. I wouldn't have nearly the credibility that Esther has because Abraham is actually running through. I'm just talking what you talked.
So now you're making it even easier for us to say that. So as you listen here and then just like a parrot repeat the words, that's one thing, and it might inspire to some extent. But as you hear these words and associate it with things that have happened in your life as you are doing, that must be happening, or you could not use that word authenticity or authority. In other words, that resonance that you're feeling. So as you feel that, so it's not just words, it's something that you know is real. And then you begin deliberately applying some of what you've heard from the words. And then the laws of the universe begin responding to you as they always do, with consistency, until you personally own it. Then it's yours to share in the same way that Esther does. Esther has no hold on any of this. She's just an example of someone who's tuned to this higher frequency and is able in longer periods of time to maintain her connection so that the conversation that flows through is steady and sure. When you feel it, it is yours. Yeah.